This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Hello. Well, let's get back to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please greet the Duchess and Prince of Sussex. Is that the right way round? The Prince and Duchess of Sussex or somewhere. Hip hip.
Boo!
I was reading that report and I wondered, now, how is the Daily Mail going to make this Harry's fault? I stopped reading about halfway through. Who cares? Go home, they said. Some texts and emails and such from last night. Alice texted, P&O staff shouldn't be surprised that they've lost their jobs when you have a Deputy Prime Minister, Dominic Raab, who is on record as saying he doesn't believe in workers' rights and surprise, surprise. Which is an odd sentence. Surprise, surprise. Do you mean angular, tetchy, humanoid Dominic Deckchair Raab?
Correct.
Yeah, he did. Him and a collection of ghouls from the regime wrote a book called Britannia Unchained. You probably heard about this. I was going to mention this last night. Kwasi Kwarteng, Priti Patel. You know Priti Patel, don't you? Yeah, that's her. Angular Tetchy humanoid Dominic Deckchair Raab, Chris Skidmore, and Elizabeth Truss. Famous international hat model. Too many people in Britain prefer a lie-in to hard work, they said.
What?
Yeah. They wrote a book. It took 5 of them. Maybe they all took one word per sentence. Looks like word salad to me. God, the stuff they put in there. Nobody should be remotely surprised at the direction of travel of this country because those people are in charge. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Hugh text, I have to tell you about my dream last night. It was so weird. Normally I don't remember my dreams. But I had a dream about a certain person who I was talking about at length yesterday. I'll get to that in a minute. Hugh text, Nick, did you hear Boris Winston Johnson criticising rootin' tootin' shootin' Putin for blowing up high-rise flats and killing children, not seeing the irony? Wait, well, I haven't read through the rest of this, but is Bodger responsible for that too? Well, let's find out. Johnson has thousands of people in the UK living in high-rise tinderboxes. Oh, well, that's true. And has threatened to see the Navy drown children in the English Channel. Push them all back out to sea. Let them drown. How many more of these are there? Oh, my God, there's a boatload. Already I'm behind, and it's not even like 5 minutes into the show. Alex texts, this is all from last night. Nick, Cameron wasn't interested in helping the English poor when he was the Prime Minister, but he wants to go all out to help the poor people in Ukraine. Please help me understand this. I can't. But I do know that we're still not missing you, Dave. But we know where to find you if we do. You'll be in the shed where they keep the tools.
I think this is nonsense.
Paul says, Nick, can you please tell me how the government can spend £13 billion on a refurbishment of a building that already exists? Which building is that? Oh, that building. Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know why it does cost that much. It just seems ridiculous to pay that much to tart up the Palace of Westminster. But it is a fantastic building. It's just a shame about the people inside it. That's all. And it's very old, and it's probably it's got it's like infested with rats, and there's probably rodents in there too. Simon says, Nick, is this out of touch or plain trolling? Johnson does a speech about protecting democracy, and Cameron is volunteering for a charity which helps feed the poor. I think that is industrial grade trolling there, Simon. Well spotted. Helps feed the poor. I bet they wake up laughing at us, poor dopes who pay taxes. They must think, what can we do to them today? Oh, I know. Gary says, a Brexit conundrum. Are the P&O agency workers foreigners coming over here and taking our jobs? I couldn't believe it when I read the RMT, the trade union, the union mob, as the Mail said they were yesterday, for warmly greeting Natalie Elphicke. they said. What a great video that is. Shame on you, they were saying. And, they were all behind if you haven't seen this, you must look it up. All the workers, or the ex-workers, of course, were behind a barrier, and Natalie Elphicke appeared as though by magic. And she was standing there with her hair and, her whole thing in front of the barrier, in front of these workers, taking charge. It was going to be all about the Natalie. And some people, maybe she didn't hear what they were saying, but the people behind the barrier were saying, you voted for this company to be able to fire and hire. Maybe she didn't understand what they were saying, or she didn't quite get it, or her brain was giving her mixed signals. But she stood there and she joined in with a chant that was directed at her. Shame on you, they said, pointing at her. And she joined in with the first couple and then realised, oh, hang on a minute, they're not saying it about P&O, they're saying it about me. And she said, right, that's it, I'm leaving. Oh, God, what a shower, eh? Adam says, Nick, the British voted for Brexit to prevent foreigners from taking their jobs, and now P&O have used that fact that the UK is no longer governed by EU employment law to sack all the British workers and give the jobs to foreigners. Try explaining this to somebody who doesn't live here. Shocking, says Adam. Yeah, how's that whole Brexit thing going for you, by the way?
Oh, fabulous.
Neil says, one more left after this. And then I can get on with today's show. He says, no more weather reports, please. They'll be wearing their dreadful flip-flops soon. I can't bear them. I will do a weather report. I just will. Yesterday's was fantastic. I've got a weather report from Antarctica. Here is the weather report from Antarctica. It's the hottest it's ever been, ever, ever, ever. The coldest location on the planet has experienced an episode of warm weather this week, unlike any ever observed. The temperatures over the eastern Antarctic ice sheet soared 50 to 90 degrees above normal. What? That's true. 50 to 90 degrees above normal. Can you imagine if that happened here? This entire country would melt. This is in Her Majesty's Fahrenheit, by the way, not that European surrender centigrade.
No!
The warmth has smashed records and shocked scientists. Scientists said, what? Said an expert, this event is completely unprecedented and upended our expectations about the Antarctic climate system, said a spokesmodel. Antarctic climatology has been rewritten, said another. I can't believe it, said somebody else. Parts of eastern Antarctica have seen temperatures hover 70 degrees, that is 40 degrees Celsius, above normal for 3 days and counting. But it's still not very warm, but it's still like a lot warmer than it normally is. It's, instead of being minus 50, it's now close to 0 or 10 degrees above 0, something like that. But that is a massive heat wave by Antarctic standards. Still, I'm sure it's just weather. Got nothing to do with climate change because that doesn't exist. I read it on Facebook. The historically high temperatures in Antarctica follow a pulse of exceptionally warm weather on the planet's opposite end. On Wednesday, temperatures near the North Pole catapulted 50 degrees above normal, close to melting point. And this is big news, huge to us, because warm ocean temperatures threaten to destabilise Antarctica's Thwaites Glacier, a slab the size of Florida that contributes about 4% of global sea level rise. When the shelf fails, the eastern third of the Thwaites Glacier, the eastern third of Thwaites Glacier will triple in speed, spitting formerly landlocked ice into the sea. The total collapse of Thwaites could result in several feet of sea level rise, scientists say, endangering millions of people in coastal areas. And as you're never more than about 70 miles, what is it? No, it's actually about 40 miles from the sea where we are. This entire country is going down. Right, is that it? No, one more. Nick, Jacob Rees-Mogg has to be the most annoying MP in the House, and you've just confirmed that he is. Correctamundo, Paul. I had a dream about him last night. I had a dream about Jacob Rees-Mogg. Can you believe that?
No.
He's actually infested my mind when I'm asleep. Now, I don't normally remember dreams, but this one was just so weird. And I woke up with a start and realised that I had been dreaming about Jacob Rees-Mogg. I am stunned. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Now, maybe it was just because I was going on and on and on and on and on and on about him last night. I was giving it loads. I was being mean. In fact, so mean that some nice lady called up later on and said, "Why are you so mean about the Conservatives? They've never done anything. Never done anything wrong. They're lovely." Or words to that effect. So, it was probably because, I was discussing him at length last night. I had him on my mind, and he has inveigled my consciousness. My subconscious, moreover. He's got into my id.
Disgusting.
0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
Some nobody.
Colm emails, the world is on the brink of an eco-financial market collapse, World War III, starvation, mass migration and anarchy, but it's all okay because Baldy Wills and his missus have jetted off to the Caribbean with an entourage of 200 servants on a 2-week holiday to allegedly promote how wonderful the Queen is. What a waste of time and money, says Colm. Well, that sounds like traitorous talk to me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present from all the way over there, Wills and what's it? Hip hip? Blown off the island by the force of their welcome, they were. Thanks a lot, Harry. See what you've done? I've got no idea. They'll find some way to blame it on him. And as for Meghan, beyond the pale. The Wicked Witch of the West. Taken our precious puppy. Kath texts, "Hey, Nick, I heard on the news a couple of weeks ago that they were setting out the parameters for the COVID inquiry. They said they want to outline what they want." Well, she's written the number 2 there. Stop, you have to stop communicating in cartoons and numbers, people. They said, says Kath, they want to outline what lessons must be learned. They really are trolling us. It's always the same. It doesn't matter what the issue is at hand or how long the investigation has taken. The answer is always lessons must be learned. Don't take a suitcase of cash from Vladimir Putin. Who knew? Now, lessons must be learned.
Affirmative.
Brentwood, hello, Alex.
Hi, good evening, Nick. I wonder if you could just give a little quick message to Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Yes.
And let him know that Beano is a comic and Lord Sneaky is not meant to be a real-life character.
Yeah.
He seems to model himself on that. You've got Bunter Johnson and Pretty Useless. He's basically turned into some sort of a edition of The Simpsons, but the English version of it.
Yeah, they all look like they're taken out of the Beano. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, the Bash Street kids.
Well, they're Downing Street kids. And Dominic Raab, we thought that the Vulcan, remember him? John Redwood, we thought he was pretty soulless, but I think Dominic Raab takes it to a whole new level.
Dominic Raab is a tetchy, angular humanoid.
Correct.
Very good.
Thanks a lot, Alex. 0345 6060 973. We're never going to forget it, Dominic, deck chair Raab. Ever. Not ever, ever, ever. Oh, I want to get to the conference today. Oh, blimey, they are laying it on thick. Laying it on thick with a trowel. They've figured out, they must have done focus groups, and they've figured out how to win the next general election, despite, everything they've ever done. And it's to concentrate on the W word. Wokery.
Fabulous.
We are going to be hearing that over and over and over again. Like they're like they've engaged in battle with wokery on our behalf. Painful. Did I tell you I had a dream about Jacob Rees-Mogg? I'll tell you about that in a minute. Where to go first? This Britannia Unchained thing, I mean, I was going to mention it yesterday in connection with the P&O thing, but I got bogged down in how stunned I was that the RMT, the union, told their workers to vote to leave the European Union, and then listed an entire suite of reasons, all of which could have been written by Jacob Rees-Mogg. It's just incredible. There was a lot in last night's show. Is it available as a podcast yet, or is that forthcoming attractions? Ordinarily, it would be, but I've got work experience on at the moment, so there's been a delay. Oh no! But ordinarily, we squirt this show up the internet and take the news and the ads out, so it takes less time to listen to. You'll use less electricity, and you still won't be able to pay your fuel bill. So it will be up there soon. That's a guarantee, isn't it?
It's an absolute guarantee.
Absolute guaranteed. I'll take this one first. Camden. Hello, Claire.
Hi, Nick.
Hello, Claire.
Hi. In olden times...
The what?
In olden times...
In olden times, a glimpse of stocking was thought of as something shocking. Now heaven knows.
Disgusting.
Anything goes.
In front of the coach with the king in it, there used to be...
Wait a minute, back up. In front of the coach with the king, what the king called King Caractacus?
Because kings would go around in coaches, yeah?
Kings would go around in coaches, yes. Mm-hmm. With butlins written on the front of it.
In front of his coach would walk a buffoon.
A buffoon, yes. That's right. In front of the coach would walk a buffoon.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
That's right.
And the buffoon would do his cartwheels and entertain the
exactly right.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
All you need to do is to smash your foot on the accelerator and you could run over the buffoon.
And the buffoon would entertain the mob around, but also at the same time, this would mean that the populace around would be relaxed.
Yeah, that's right. He would relax them. Yeah. The buffoon. The purpose of the buffoon is to relax the gullible.
And in this way, the populace would dare to tell the buffoon about their woes.
Yeah.
But also the buffoon would be able to tell the populace the truth.
Right.
Because the king would never venture with the truth in front of the populace.
Of the public, that's right. He would tell the truth to the public via the buffoon, or kind of using him like a sponge.
Yeah.
He would soak the buffoon with truth, and little droplets of it would then scatter in front of the king, come in out the back of the buffoon. Isn't that awful? I hope that you got a vivid mental image of that, everybody.
But nowadays they have scrapped one of these jobs. They have squeezed through both jobs into one.
That's right. Yes, the king is now the buffoon. Yeah. They've cancelled the truth part, and they've just gone with maximising the buffoonery. Yeah.
So by obeying the laws of efficiency, they have achieved around zero.
Yeah.
Because we don't know who is in the coach nowadays.
That's right. For efficiency and for maximising our approach to net zero, the king is now the buffoon. Excellent value for money.
We don't know whether it's the buffoon inside the coach or the king.
Yeah, and not only is the buffoon inside the coach, but he's also driving. He's doing 3 jobs. You know where they're going, don't you?
Peppa Pig World. Peppa Pig World is...
Yes.
Peppa Pig. Peppa Pig
is the right answer. He's going to Peppa Pig World. You know what that bus has actually got written on the front of it? Nowhere.
Rock and roll!
Anybody remember what that is? A bus with nowhere written on it? Do you remember that, Claire?
Sorry?
A bus with nowhere written on it. You know, the destination of the bus is nowhere. Do you remember that?
No.
Hands in the air, who remembers that? Keep them up while I count. No one. How quickly we forget.
I think the bus is heading towards something I don't...
The precipice.
Yeah.
We're all going to go over the edge. Yeah. It's like that old... Go on.
I didn't want to name it because it's not good.
No. Well, what lies at the bottom of the precipice? Yeah. Well, don't get upset, Claire. You never know. It might never Oh, no, that's right. It already has. All right, cheers, my dear. Excellent work there, Claire. 0345 6060 973. You know the old Bob Monkhouse joke? The old Bob Monkhouse bus joke? Everybody knows that joke, right? I'd like to die in my sleep like my father, not screaming in panic like his passengers. 0345 6060 973. Jenny texts, Nick, you're right. There's no such thing as climate change or global warming. In other news, the Wirral is on fire. I can see it from North Wales. It looks amazing and chilling. What's happening in the Wirral? Was there something in the news about the Wirral being on fire?
Yeah, it broke just a little bit before we started, but it's mostly just pictures on Twitter. They're not 100% sure what's happening at the moment. They think it might have been intentionally started, so... but there's a big fire in the Wirral at the moment.
Is there? Oh, no. Well, you'll hear more about that in a couple of minutes, no doubt. Chris says, I've always been a Republican, but the Royals have offered... excuse me. Not a Republican from Merca. Not this sort of Republican.
I love the poorly educated.
But he loves the royal family. He absolutely loves them. He says, I've always been a Republican, but the Royals have offered some levity in these times. The thought of a family for talentless millionaires, the thought of a family of talentless millionaires who owe their wealth to the privilege and exploitation of the country they are visiting, suddenly now looking bemused because they aren't welcomed with open arms is beyond comical. Yeah, it was pretty funny, because everywhere they go, they're like little crowds of cheering flag wavers. Oh, we love you. You know, all of that. And they must have been royally discombobulated to be greeted with boos. Get off our land, they said, but not in that accent. Quite right, too. A little glint of reality has just invaded their lives. I'm still waiting for the Daily Mail to blame it on Hazza and Sparkles, though. Must be their fault. Has to be. You've muddied the water for them, Hazza. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Wow, look at that. I've wiped up all of the texts from last night, a couple from today, and I've taken about 3 or 4 calls. I'm doing very well. Right, so I want to talk about this Britannia Unchained thing, because I was going to mention this last night, but as I said before, I got diverted talking about the RMTs. Incredible. I mean, I read it with an open mouth. I was open-mouthed when I read it, when they were telling their members to vote to leave the European Union, for the following reasons, all of which could have been written by Jacob Rees-Mogg and his cavalcade of ghouls. None of which actually came true, all of which were a total lie. But they went ahead and voted for it anyway. How's it working out for you?
Oh, fabulous.
Exactly. If only somebody had said something. But I don't believe there was a single solitary person who said that it might not be a bad idea to leave the European Union. Not one single one. No one Shame on everybody. But this Britannia Unchained thing, it does give you an idea of why it is that we are in the state we are. It's because we're being led by these people. They told us who they are. When somebody tells you who they are and you're appalled, believe them. Kwarteng Patel, angry, angular, tetchy humanoid, Dominic Deckchair Raab, Chris Skidmore, as in, who's Chris Skidmore? And Elizabeth the Brains Truss. They said too many people in Britain prefer a lie-in to hard work.
What?
Yeah, that's what they think of us. I'll get into that in a minute. I also want to tell you about my dream last night. It's too weird. Very, very strange. I spent a lot of time with a certain bespectacled beanpole. Weird. 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. It's just past 10:30, the news headlines. Wait a minute. With Serena Farrow.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
So here's that story about the fire. Cheshire Fire Service sent 6 fire engines to a blaze after it started just before 6:30 in the evening at Neston. So that was like 4 hours ago. An eyewitness described seeing a wall of flames that rapidly took hold of the area. The fire had covered approximately 500 square metres, the fire service said, with crews using hose reels and beaters to put out the flames. The service said police had been contacted as it was suspected that the fire had been started deliberately. Morons. We're surrounded by morons. Eyewitness Peter said there was no explosion, but the fire took hold rapidly, creating a wall of flames across the marshland. Marshland? How does a marshland catch fire? Let's talk to somebody who's around about there. Liverpool. Hello, Vincent.
All right, how are you, Nick? Are you okay?
Yeah, good, thanks. Can you see anything from your window?
That woman before talking about the rails on a coach. I remember bumping into Prince Charles in Victoria Station, funny enough, when he got off the National Express.
Oh, yeah.
But to be honest, in that, talking about P&O, how on earth can anyone do that? It's. I think it's nuts, isn't it, Nick, personally?
Well, they're doing it in order to maximise profitability.
No, I agree with you 100%, but how on earth it can be?
Well,
it's, I look at, as you said then before, the RMT, and people have coloured a piece of cardboard in save our ships. Absolutely ridiculous. But it shouldn't be able to happen, should it?
It wouldn't have happened if we'd probably still been... No, it might have happened if we'd been in the European Union, but it wouldn't have happened if we'd had the same labour laws as France or Spain or etc. and so on. It is to do with that. It's our special way of organising our labour laws that has been enacted by the Conservative government. Of course it is. I mean, there are foreign workers on those boats. Do they get fired? Can you see this fire outside your window, Vincent?
Sorry?
There's a fire in the Wirral, or there was anyway. Can you see it?
Well, it might be the Slim Panatella factory. No, I don't know. It's not far away from me, but I can't see the flames, to be honest.
The Slim Panatella factory?
It could be, yeah. One puff and it goes up. No,
right. Well, that's what they're made to do, yeah. All right, thanks a lot, Vincent. Slim Panatella. Is that still a thing? I can't believe that cigarettes are still a thing. I mean, come on, people. What are you doing? It's got to the point now that when I see somebody smoking a cigarette, it's just like I'm a bit stunned, really. You think, like, what are you doing? You've lit that thing and you've stuck it in your face. What for? You idiot. I mean, I don't mean to be judgmental, but you're an idiot, I think. Particularly young people. I mean, I sort of get if you're really old and you've been smoking for a good long while and it's difficult to give up. Not impossible, of course. It's just difficult. I don't want to, that. But young people, when you see some kids start smoking, you think, oh, crying out loud. Find some other way to look cool, you idiot. Anyway. June tweets, you should dream about the Mogster more often. You are positively frisky tonight. Yes. Yeah, that's right. He's put a wind in my sails.
Disgusting.
I had a dream about Jacob Rees-Mogg last night. Can you believe that?
No.
He's infested my brain. Well, I'll tell you about that in a minute. It was so bizarre. And there was so much detail in it. That's what but I guess dreams are always like that. It's just that I don't normally remember mine. I mean, you must dream all the time. I mean, every night you must have dreams, otherwise your brain will get scrambled. But I'd never remember my dreams, but I certainly remembered this. I remembered every tiny little thing about it, like everything. And I'll explain it later, in a minute. Wait. Folkestone. Hello, Ian.
Hi.
Ian.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Nick. Great show as always.
Thanks.
I think that a lot of people talk about refugees, and like when you look at Folkestone, there's loads and loads of space available. Like there are empty buildings. The government is actually paying to keep up the facades of empty buildings. I think we could do a lot more. I don't think we're full. I think people use that and they say that all the time.
People have been saying that this country is full for about 100 years.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't agree with it. Like I go down the high street in Folkestone. There's businesses closing up. There's empty buildings all around. I just don't see it. And I understand why people are angry because of like P&O and that kind of thing. But that's on our head. That's not the EU. That's the only thing I hope. We've left the EU. Well, it's up to us. It's up to us. Like we are treating our own people based on the laws of this country, not EU laws.
Not we. We aren't treating people. It's the government. It's, I suppose, by extension, it's we, because we're the ones that vote them in over and over and over again, despite all experience telling you that you shouldn't, but we do anyway.
But we don't have anywhere to hide anymore. They can't blame it on the EU anymore.
Oh, but they do. They do, and they always will. First, they blamed it on the EU, and then if that becomes too tiresome, then it will be COVID. And now, how lucky are they? Now they can blame everything that happens over the next 10 years on the war. It's Vladimir Putin's fault.
Boris Johnson, I think, is celebrating the fact that this war happened.
I bet.
He gives a shit about people.
I bet he did a little happy clappy dance. That another massive excuse has come his way. How can he be that lucky?
Yeah, I know, because all Partygate is just blown away. No, and now he's trying to pretend like he's Churchill.
Exactly. What they're trying to do, and Smugs tried this on Friday, is to tell us to stop thinking about it. Do not stop thinking about it, people. Remind yourself. Just keep remembering that picture of the Queen sitting on her own at her husband's funeral, looking just like a tiny pile of sadness because of the rules that Bodger and his crowd enacted, and they ignored immediately. They didn't ignore it a little while later. They told us, don't do this, don't do that. And then he left the lectern and went to bring your own bottle business meeting. Thanks a lot, Ian. 0345 6060 973. Do not forget it. They're telling you to forget it. So don't. Like that. Kwesi Kwarteng, Priti Patel, Dominic Dekchair-Raab, Chris Skidmore and Elizabeth Truss said, too many people in Britain, we argue, prefer a lie-in to hard work. This is what they think of you. They branded Britons as among the worst idlers in the world and said the country should emulate the hard work ethic of Asia. These are the people that are running this country now. They wrote a book called Britannia Unchained. This is where we are going. I'll sum it up for you in one sound effect. Their vision, laid out in a book called Britannia Unchained, Global Growth and Prosperity. Not prosperity for you, mind. The MPs said that the UK had to raise its work ethic towards that of South Korea, Singapore and Hong Kong, rather than the office and factory culture in struggling European nations, they said. So I looked it up. I looked up how happy the average person is in those countries. that these ghouls are portraying as nirvana. Because what's the point of life if it is not to maximise your happiness? I mean, does anybody get to the end of their life and say, God, I really wish that I'd earned a little bit more? On your deathbed, are you likely to say that? Are you likely to say on your deathbed, God, I should maybe have, done a 6-day week rather than a 5? If only I'd worked 50 hours a week, then I'd die happy. I looked up how happy the average person is in those countries that they are portraying as nirvana. And on the World Happiness Index, Singapore is 32nd. South Korea, 61st. Hong Kong, 75th. And oddly, 9 of the top 10 happiest people in the world are from those very same European nations that they think are such cesspits. Those struggling European nations, full of much happier people than the nations that they want us to emulate, like South Korea, Singapore and Hong Kong. And I wonder if that is by any chance because the workers are treated with respect and valued rather than exploited and used as assets by owners that cream off all the profits for themselves while giving their workforce a pittance. These people are leading us. Be afraid. In their book, Britannia Unchained, it's not like it's a secret, they actually wrote this stuff down. Britannia Unchained, written by Kwasi Kwarteng, Priti Patel, angular tetchy humanoid Dominic Deckchair Robb, Chris Skidmore, and Elizabeth the Brains Truss. They delivered a withering verdict on Britain's work ethic, claiming the state, including high taxes and a generous welfare system, has fuelled laziness. Once they enter the workplace, the British are among the worst idlers in the world, they said. We work among the lowest hours, we retire early, and our productivity is poor. You know, these people want the lot of us stripped of employment rights so that we can be hired and fired on 0-hours contracts, keeping us desperate and pliant so that bosses and shareholders can reap all of the rewards of our labour. You know, just like what Jesus would do. Welfare gives people a safety net so that they can enjoy their lives and their work without the constant fear of becoming destitute. And as for productivity being poor in this country, that's right, it is. But it's not because the workers are lazy, it's because the bosses of companies strip their businesses of profits for themselves and their shareholders rather than reinvest it in the company. We have among the worst research and development investment in the Western world. And it's got nothing to do with the people who get wages and everything to do with the people who get remuneration. It's not our fault, it's theirs. Kwasi Kwarteng, Priti Patel, Dominic Deckchair Robb, Chris Skidmore, and by the way, Dominic Deckchair Robb could not be bothered to get out of a deck chair while Afghanistan was imploding. Telling us that we prefer a lie into hard work. These people, they said, along with the Brains Trust, the economic crisis should be a wake-up call of the need to rediscover the lost virtue of hard graft. Every single one of them has hands as soft as a baby's bottom. They actually had the nerve to write, the British are among the worst idlers in the world. We work among the lowest hours. We retire early and our productivity is poor. Whereas Indian children aspire to be doctors or businessmen, the British are more interested in football and pop music. Wow. What they think of us little people. Not leprechauns. It sounds like they don't love our country, to me. They certainly don't love our country persons. Sounds borderline traitorous. They warn that the country is being dragged down by a bloated public sector, poor productivity, years of excessive spending, too little growth, and increasingly large public sector pension liabilities. They want us poor and needy, and they want the unions gone, and they want the employment laws torn up, and they want lower taxes for the rich, because lower taxes always favour the rich, and they want less spending on the poor and those in need, Just look at their voting records. I don't even need to look it up. I bet every single one of them has consistently voted against the interests of those in need and for the interests of the rich. Check it out if you don't believe me. It's all on a website called They Work For You. And of course they do all that while claiming that they are guided by their faith.
Oh, fabulous.
What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, that reminds me, I must tell you about my dream about Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Oh, hello.
It's too weird. Patrick says, hi Nick, Ukraine elected a comedian and got a leader. Britain voted for a leader and ended up with a bad joke. Memo to Mr. Zelensky, when you're done running things over there, come over here. The job is yours. Yeah, we should put in a bid. Like a football coach. Anytime you're ready, Mr. Zelensky. Big fan of your work. Let's have a call in Knightsbridge. Hello, Freddie.
Hey, Nick.
Freddie.
Nice to see you. A while. I haven't called you. It's nice to hear that you're back on form again. I just wanted to say, whenever I've called you up, I've always said I've missed Jeremy Corbyn, but now that everything's happening wrong with Ukraine, I just wonder, because Corbyn's inherently anti-Trident, I think, and I just wondered what you thought, if he was in power with the whole Ukraine thing, and then if we didn't have a nuclear deterrent, how would things unfold? What would your thoughts be?
My thoughts about that are, having a nuclear deterrent depends on mutually assured destruction, which is ironically MAD, mad, which only works if both sides are sane. If one side is mad, then they will, and they're mad enough to let off a rocket, then they are also mad enough not to care about the consequences of a rocket coming back at them. So it's really pointless.
Okay, so maybe we should have Jeremy Corbyn. I'd miss him.
All right, I'll see what I can do, Freddie. It would. I think that the country would be run a lot better. I very much doubt that if the government under Jeremy Corbyn would be up to its eyeballs in Russian money. I mean, can you imagine it? Can you imagine the right-wing press in this country if Jeremy Corbyn had accepted a ruble from a single solitary person with connection to Vlad the Insaner? They would have printed nothing else for years. It would have been on pages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and a full-colour, pull-out, souvenir edition inside. They would never have stopped going on about it. But when His Imperial Boginus does it, then, that's just Boris. It was baked in. We knew what we were voting for. Isn't he cute? He's doing his best. There's a phrase I haven't heard in a while. He's doing his best. Are you, in fact, doing your best, Bodge?
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times.
Yes.
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times.
Mm-hmm.
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times.
Sure.
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times.
Yeah, right. Sure you did. Well, it's as believable as anything else you've ever said. And about that P&O thing, I mean, I mentioned this yesterday. They were questioned, did you know that P&O were going to sack all those workers before they actually did it? And they said...
No.
And furthermore, they said...
No.
And they were questioned, are you absolutely sure that you didn't know anything about it?
Negative.
They said. Are you sure you didn't know a single solitary thing about it before it happened?
No.
No, they said. Asked again, did you know before it happened? And they said...
No.
And then, to absolutely nobody's surprise, they said in a whisper, oh, the P&O thing. Oh, yeah. We knew about that. They knew about it the day before. They didn't say anything and they didn't do anything. He was actually in blooming Dubai. And he didn't say anything and he didn't do anything. That's because it's not an accident. It's the plan. Stripping us of our rights is the reason that we left the European Union. I know that they said, sovereignty. And people thought, yeah, that's right, sovereignty. And I challenge you to actually tell me what that means. Smug was saying that just the other day. Oh, well, of course, sovereignty. Pushes his glasses up his nose. Sovereignty. He can't think of a single thing that has been a benefit of Brexit. Everything that they promised us was a lie, and he's so bereft of ideas about what a positive outcome of Brexit might be, one single one, that he's outsourced the thinking to us lot. He actually asked us to come up with a Brexit positive, because he can't think of one himself. The only thing he could come up with is instigating an inquiry into reinstalling imperial measurements. That's where we're at. Now, I don't know whether that was just him scrabbling around in desperation, trying to come up with something that might appeal to, the elderly who actually got us into this mess. Thanks a lot, Granny. But, or whether it's just top-class industrial-level gaslighting. What can we say to them today? Imperial measurements. Oh, lovely. Yeah, inches and feet. That'll get global Britain back on the world stage. Pounds and ounces. Oh, it's excruciating. Anyway, I had a dream about him last night. Can you believe that?
No.
I couldn't. I woke up, I wasn't drenched with the sweat exactly, but I was a little bit confused. Why am I dreaming about him, I thought? Everybody remained clothed throughout. You'll be glad to know. But I'll talk about that in just a minute. The detail was, plentiful. There was just no end of it. It was like watching a film. Worst film ever. 0345 6060 970. Who would play Jacob Rees-Mogg in a film featuring him? I think it would be one of the Flower Pot Men. Because, they're sort of floppy and brainless. Yeah, I think that's it. Of course, nobody under the age of 60 has got any idea what I'm talking about. Have you got any idea what I'm talking about? The Flower Pot Men?
Bill and Ben, the Flower Pot Men.
There you go. They do teach them something in school these days. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
This is absolute tosh.
Hang about, Nick. Listen, now, what I'm trying to say to you is this, Nick, right?
0345 6060 973. Derek tweets, work ethics. Perhaps we in the UK should all be working two jobs like our hard-working MPs. Oh, there was a priceless piece in... I sound like a pheromone. Is that the name of that instrument? Is it a theramone? Theramone.
Rock and roll!
It was in... wait a minute. One moment, please. Aha. It was in Open Democracy. You know, this is one thing that I meant to get onto yesterday. There's so many things. I'm up to my eyeballs in stuff. I'm very, very busy. MPs' second jobs. Apart from them awarding themselves a pay rise and then pretending, it's got nothing to do with us. It's an independent, independently adjudicated. Yeah, weird that once they hived off, the decision making on what kind of a pay rise they should get, because they used to decide it themselves. They used to just think up a number and double it. And interestingly, now they, because they got it in the neck from us poor dopes who pay taxes, they said, "Oh, okay then, we'll give the decision on who gives us a pay rise to somebody else, an independent body." Independent, they said. Groovy. That was the wrong one. I didn't mean to hit that one. It was meant to be this one. They both start with G, you see, groovy and goofy. Very, very alike. They shouldn't be so close together. All my fault. I shouldn't be allowed in charge of this show. Seriously. What am I doing on the air? Is this thing on? What was I saying? What was I saying? Yes. Exactly. Pay rise. Oh, pay rise, yeah. The MPs, so they hived it off to this supposedly independent body, which has given them more of a pay rise over the years than they could possibly have thought they could get away with themselves. Isn't that curious? Strange. Independent, my eye. Anyway, they've been awarded a pay rise for excellence in being them, and they've also dropped that MP's second jobs thing, just like we thought they would do. I mean, good grief! Talk about excellent time to bury bad news. All they needed is a little light war. They could try and slip this by us. Plans to cap MPs' earnings from second jobs have been dropped months after the issue provoked a scandal that plunged Boris Johnson's government into crisis. They have dropped the plans to cap MPs' earnings from second jobs.
What?
Ministers told the Commons Standards Committee... Ministers told the Commons Standards Committee that a time limit or ceiling on such earnings would be impractical. Impractical. Let's look up the definition of impractical in the dictionary. It means something the Tories don't want to do.
Correct.
Impractical. You remember last year, God, it seems so long ago, after the Owen Paterson lobbying scandal and a furore over Geoffrey Cox being paid nearly £6 million as a lawyer since joining Parliament, for crying out loud, voting by proxy on days that he was undertaking paid work. After all that, the Prime Minister pledged to clamp down on MPs' second jobs. I promised to do it, he said. Liar! Angular tetchy humanoid Dominic Deckchair Raab said you could do it in one of two ways. You could do it by the amount, or you could do it by the number of hours. So they found a third way and decided not to do it at all.
Oh, fabulous.
You will be stunned to learn that the government says it no longer backs such limits on second jobs to being able to earn as much cash as possible while they're also being paid to do what should be the full-time job of representing their constituents. Us poor dopes what pay taxes. I mean, that would be like asking the Conservative Party if they wouldn't mind awfully not taking money from a kleptocratic regime intent on subverting democracy in this country. It's too much to ask. Let's be reasonable. The conclusion from Steve Barclay, the preposterously titled Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, and Mark Spencer, the leader of the House of Commons, said, "It is the government's initial view that the imposition of fixed constraints such as time limits on the amount of time that members can spend on outside work would be impractical." Impractical. Not for us to question why. Apparently they can't live on a mere £82,000 a year, plus £250,000 in expenses and all the rubles they can fit in a suitcase, and that's the end of it. They said, "Don't question us, peasant." Numerous largely Conservative MPs responded to the consultation on their standards regime with a wide range of criticisms. Tory MP Craig Whittaker described some of the proposals on limits and declaring contracts for second jobs as more nonsense, he said. Puh! Philip Dunn, a Tory MP and former minister with a second job that pays him $3,400 a month as a non-executive director, warned that a system to ban parliamentary consultancy had led to the loss of experienced and qualified experts from parliamentary discourse. Or in other words, the The Committee on Standards released its proposals for the Code of Conduct in November. It said MPs should face a complete ban on working as paid consultants, and ministers should be more open about any potential conflicts of interest. Other recommendations included an obligation for MPs to have a written contract for any outside work available for inspection, and which would spell out that they cannot lobby on behalf of the employer. It also raised the possibility of limits on how much time MPs can spend on outside jobs or other interests, and how much they can be paid for them, but said that this would need cross-party support. But as the Tories are about as likely to vote for that as they are to open their second homes to a refugee, that's not going to happen, is it? They said,
No.
And some of the excuses they gave are priceless. I have detailed files. You wouldn't believe it. I'll get to that in a minute. Top 5 excuses from Tory MPs about why it would be against the interests of this country for them not to be able to do other work while they're supposed to be doing their actual jobs. It's great. As in G-A-R-G-R-A-T-E. Yeah, great. That great. Wait a minute. Nottingham. Richard.
Hello.
Richard.
Yes, mate.
You called me?
I did. I can remember the 60s. I know you're far too young to remember the 60s. But we had a really good chance in the 60s and early 70s to emulate the German way of manufacturing, which was unions and management working together.
Yeah.
But we had 2 small problems. The unions were a little too quick to go on strike, and the management had got no intention of ever putting enough money into new equipment to make us competitive.
That is the reason why our productivity level is low.
Yes.
That part is true.
I
What they said
I went for a job at a very large company in the mid-80s. They employed nearly 700 people. And the company I left employed 50 people. Both of them have got 3 brake presses. You don't know what they are, it doesn't matter. But the big company I went to had got 1 brake press there that was made in 1932.
Right. Exactly.
And then the newest one was made in 1960.
Because British management...
This was 1985.
British management, more so than practically any other country in the world, ploughs all their profits into themselves, not into the business. That's why productivity is low. It's not the workers, it's the management.
I think you'll find, if you look it up, that legally, public registered companies are obliged to look after their shareholders first.
Right.
Not the employees.
Correct.
Which is why they're more interested in paying dividends than they are in buying new machinery.
Yeah, but they would, even if it wasn't in law, if it had nothing to do with the law, they'd still be doing that. They'd be showering themselves with every penny they can get hold of, rather than put it back
it's not just the Tories. It's been going on since Margaret Thatcher, this knocking the unions all the time. It's been going on now since the late 70s.
Right. Well, Margaret Thatcher was a Tory.
Since Ted Heath, in fact. Ted Heath first started this.
He was a Tory
knocking the unions.
Yeah.
And this is what the P&O thing. That's also partly to do with maritime law, of course, because a lot of maritime law goes back to 200 years. It really wanted redoing years ago.
Does anybody know if the foreign crew on these P&O boats got fired? Are there any Spanish people on those boats that got fired, or any French people on those boats that got fired, or Germans, or was it just the Brits?
As far as I don't know, there's 800 of them. So they said they employed another 2,000 odd. I don't know what they do. I don't know whether they were talking about the cruise liners or whether they were talking about people who were staffing the offices.
You'd think that would have come up, but I haven't read a single solitary word about it. Leave it with me, Richard, and I'll have a full report on your desk first thing in the morning. Thanks a lot, mate. Very loud. So back off the phone a couple of feet there, Richard. Matt texts, Boris is the reason we're in this mess. I'm a Tory to the core, but I would never vote for this idiot again. I'm embarrassed to be British at the minute. He's embarrassed about you, Bodge. I can't imagine why.
Peppa Pig World. Peppa Pig World is it has
yes.
Peppa Pig
is the right answer. Very good. He's a good bodger. Bath. Hello, Laura.
Hi, Nick. I'm back.
Who's back?
I'm back.
Oh, you! Laura! Who are you?
I went to live in South Korea for a year.
You mean you're back from South Korea?
Yeah. I used to call you on here, and then I went to South Korea, and I was too busy, but
because
now I'm back.
I've been sitting here for a year thinking, where's Laura?
Well, I'm back now, so...
Right. Well, thank goodness for that. And
by the way...
not a moment too soon, by the way. You wouldn't believe the stuff that's happened since you've been gone.
Yeah, but you stayed just exactly the same, so...
Well, I don't know whether to be offended by that. I think I've decided to be offended by that.
But it's a comfort, with the rest of the country spinning into chaos,
Right.
Nick. So,
I'm a comfort, like a stuffed cushion.
Yeah, well, you'll be using one of those tonight when you have another dream about Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Steady.
So. What was I going to say? Yeah, it's a theremin, that musical instrument.
A theremin, right.
Yeah. And...
Sounds a bit like that.
Oh, it's a lot more unpleasant than that.
It's a Doctor Who thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
right.
Yeah.
And the pheromones are those things that come out of, like, cats and stuff like that.
Oh.
Not that. Oh. Anyway, so...
It comes out of cats? That's an awful thing to say, Laura.
Well, if you Google it...
I certainly will do nothing of the sort.
Well, anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about was you talked about happiness in places like Singapore and South Korea.
HAPPY-ness. Yes.
Yes. So I thought I'd give my sort of...
Okay, well, you've just come back from a year in South Korea. What was it like?
Yeah. I mean, when I was working there, so the people didn't seem super happy like they do in Norway. I visited Norway and they do look visibly happy.
Oh, are they ever? That is the sound everywhere you walk in Norway because, apart from anything else, they get to have hot 6-foot blonde Norwegian interface with each other.
Disgusting. But the irony is that in terms of, like, convenience, South Korea has all these amazing things, like they have the best delivery services in the world, the technology is amazing, versus in Norway where a lot of stuff is actually inconvenient. But no, the people are not happy, and they have these, they have their own version of oligarchs, and there's something called a chaebol, which is like a family that owns stuff like Samsung has a chaebol, and it means they can influence the politics that go on in the nation, and people are very complicit with it. Age is really important over there, so you can't be rude to older people even if they're not being nice to you, and they just put up with it. Yeah,
Can you imagine that, kids?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, yeah. So that was quite hard to get used to. Not that I enjoy being rude to older people, but it was...
Especially selected older people, yes, but not in general.
Yeah, but, you can be as unreasonable as you like out there. If you're old, you have a free pass.
Wow.
Is basically how it is.
Well, it sounds like a great place to take a holiday after a certain age, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. But, yeah, the other thing I want to talk to you about, they texted you about it last night, but you or your producer didn't pick it up. Is,
my evil producer didn't pick it up.
I've been cooking a lot of vegan food recently, and I wanted to know your thoughts on that, as you're the same age as my dad. And in his case, I sneak it into a lot of his food, and he doesn't, he's none the wiser.
I'm perfectly fine with a plate of vegan food alongside sausages and bacon.
Okay, well, he probably says the same thing.
The same thing, yeah. No, I spent 20 years not a vegan, mind. I was a vegetarian, although I did eat fish, so not really a vegetarian at all. But for most of 20 years, I didn't eat any meat. So it's just fine with me, as long as it tastes nice. I mean, You can have meat meals that taste awful and vegan meals that taste awful. What does your food taste like?
Mine's really good.
Well, there you are, and you see, really good. Then that sounds really good. Laura, I'm going to have to go, because look at the time. 0345 6060 973. I haven't told you about my my dream about smug yet. I'll do that in a minute. 0345 6060 973. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Right, so what are we doing?
Given we're doing a radio show, but it does remind me that I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin.
No.
Yes. Carol McGiffin and I, the delightful Carol McGiffin and I, solve people's problems while laughing like drains. It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol. Now, if you want us to solve your problem, then you've got to send it to us. We're not mind readers. And the address is nickandcarol@global.com. NICKANDCAROL@global.com. And prepare to be mildly satisfied.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's available on the World Wide Wait, on an internet near you. Ask for it by name. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? If you have Global Player, it's on there. It's on there along with the other two podcasts that I do. But if you just want to just check out from the from doom scrolling and this misery, this sort of this soup of misery that we're all wading through at the moment, and you just want to let your mind flow free. Turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream.
Yowza.
And if you want a laugh, then it'll be right up your alley. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? It's on Global Player. Do a search on my name, Nick Abbott Podcast, and it will come up as though by magic. 0345 6060 973. Derek tweets, work ethics. Perhaps we in the UK should all be working two jobs like our hard-working MPs. Right, this is a collection by Open Democracy, the website, of MPs' excuses for keeping their high-value second jobs. You ready? Several MPs submitted written evidence as part of the Parliamentary Standards Committee's consultation over changes to the MP's Code of Conduct, launched in the wake of the Owen Paterson lobbying scandal in November. The former Tory MP, Owen Paterson, broke parliamentary rules by lobbying on behalf of two companies from whom he received at least £500,000 in payments. No! In response, Bodger Johnson said,
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times.
He proposed setting limits on MPs' second jobs. He actually said that out loud. Anybody believe him?
No.
Of course not. Boris Johnson himself proposed setting limits on MPs' second jobs and banning paid consultancy work, which Tories unanimously voted in favour of until they didn't. Big surprise, they did not go ahead with that. This week, the government rode back on its plan, writing in a submission to the Standards Committee that a cap on how much time MPs spend on second jobs and how much they earn would be impractical. In other words, it would mean that they make less money doing other stuff while they were supposed to be working for us, so no deal. A number of MPs objected to the proposal, despite having backed it just 4 months ago in their submissions to the committee. Now, when they voted for this proposal, oh, yeah, that's right, we want to, to axe all these second jobs. Goodness me, no, we don't want to do those. It's bringing the House into disrepute. They must have thought in the back of their mind, yeah, well, we'll make a big show about this in public now, and then in a couple of months we'll just slip it out on a quiet Friday, perhaps just before the House rises for one of its numerous holidays, and we'll just get out of it that way. Little did they know that a light war would break out, and they could slip anything they bloomin' well liked under our noses and we wouldn't notice. So a number of MPs objected to this proposal to ban second jobs, despite having backed it just 4 months ago. Here are some of the reasons they gave. The public should find it reassuring that MPs are being paid high sums for second jobs, said one anonymous MP. It should be reassuring that they are highly valued in their field. You getting this? We should be reassured that they, instead of working for us, for which we pay them 80-odd grand a year and £250,000 in expenses, we should be grateful that they're not doing that and they're doing something else, that they're being highly paid doing something else, because we should take comfort that they are highly valued in a different field to the one that which we're paying them for. Second excuse, it would make HGV drivers, the shortage of HGV drivers, worse if we stop them doing their second jobs. An anonymous MP said the cap was utterly unacceptable because it would be wholly wrong to determine what type of external role is acceptable or not, and gave the example of a lorry driver as one second job that an MP could do, which would be absolutely essential. How many MPs are currently employed as lorry drivers?
And one.
No.
Two.
No.
11.
No. Try again.
And one.
No.
Two.
No.
6 million.
No. Another one said that MPs need multiple jobs to make ends meet. A third anonymous MP suggested that MPs need second jobs to get by. He said, "We all have to choose our work-life balance, and many of our constituents juggle multiple jobs to make ends meet, and I don't see us MPs as being any different." Apart from the fact that they earn a basic annual salary of over £80,000 a year, which is set to rise to £84,144 next month, which is about 3 times more than the UK average salary. And most people don't get £250,000 in expenses on top. But apart from that, he's got a good point. Here's another one. The government's initial recommendations propose that reasonable limits are set on outside activities. Outside activities.
86%.
Whoa, sorry. Keep that phrase in mind. Outside activities. Now, most interpreted the phrase outside activities that should be kept to a reasonable limit. Most interpreted that word to refer to paid work. Tory MP Dan Poulter suggested that it would not be acceptable because outside activities might mean spending time with his children. I am not making that up. Tory MP Dan Poulter suggested that spending time with his own children might constitute an outside activity. Tory MP Bill Wiggin argued that limiting time or limiting income does not improve the honesty and integrity of the system. It just creates more opportunity for errors. He said more rules mean more